Those are some of my favorite things to do after a run, but I have a lot more that you can find in the injury prevention series if you click the link below. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will catch you in the next. What's up guys, Kirk Warner here, and I'm gonna share with you 3 of my favorite things to do after I run besides eating a lot. Those are some of my favorite things to do after a run, but I have a lot more that you can find in the injury prevention series if you click the link below. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will catch you in the next. What's up guys, Kirk Warner here, and I'm gonna share with you 3 of my favorite things to do after I run besides eating a lot. Those are some of my favorite things to do after a run, but I have a lot more that you can find in the injury prevention.
Bring the camera up, making sure our sound is all good to go. Hey, what's up guys? Nate here, back for episode 47. Craig is in here in spirit and kind of in body right now because he's technically back here. But Craig decided to go to a wedding for his friends because he thought that was more important than hanging out with you guys. We all know, you know, what we can say about that. But I'm here, so you guys are going to be stuck with me for the hour. And usually when I'm left to play on my own, by myself, I like to have a good time with you guys, and I like to hang out and get a lot of your questions answered. So we're gonna have some fun and get into it.
But look at the high fidelity sound, camera work, and whole deal he has going on.
I don't even need him anymore. I set this up all by myself.
True, you did.
No, he showed me the whole thing. We're going 4K. I'm not on my phone right now. It is a wonderful world, you could say. And let's, you know, play the check-in game with you guys. See who is here. We have Lizzie runs far checking in. Karen, what's up? Kimberly already getting into the questions about keto diet. That's a great one. Gary says hello from Dublin. Dave says what's up? Kimberly again, hey, hey. Case the sound is working today, sweet. I know, we're always pumped about that. Andy, AKA the Forest of Dean Runner, is checking in. I had a great time on Andy's show yesterday. You guys definitely, if you haven't subscribed to the Forest of Dean Runner, you definitely should. He really previews his training as he goes through the paces themselves and just kind of gives you an in-depth look on what he's got going on. He's really built a nice little community over there. We did almost a 45-minute or hour-long conversation. You could watch that live, that recording from yesterday if you want. Definitely a good time. Lizzie, what up, TRE? Scrolling down the list here, Rich says, can I run with Piriformis syndrome? It's an interesting greeting, Rich, but I know what you're saying. We'll get into those questions all the way through. Mehmet says, what's up? Let me see here. He says, congratulations, Craig. Darn you, Craig, on all you guys are leaving. I'm trying to keep up with all these things. Tone, what's up? How are you? Edward chiming in. How you doing? From Alaska. Adnan says hello from Pakistan. Jeff says hello from Oregon, sunny Oregon, we'll take it. Lloyd, Orange County, Eric, hey, hey. Dr. Who Girl, that's a great name. From Minnesota, Renee from Wisconsin, Bavaria, Germany. Man, you guys are awesome today. So, we got a few things. Before I get into all your questions, we do have a few kind of fun updates that I want to share with you. We always got something fun every single week. First of all, I was so exhausted last week after 2 weeks of, probably 14 or 18 days of working straight through, traveling a lot. Holly and I had a great time in Boston, but man, that really took some energy out of us. And I think the wires were touching when I was here on Thursday, so I was definitely glad to not be flying solo last week with Craig because, man, I do not think I could string a coherent sentence together. This week, fortunately, I'm doing a little bit better. But speaking of really fun events, this Saturday, it's going to be a local event here in the Bay Area. For those of you guys who are in the Bay Area, we want to, give you a little opportunity to hang out with me and 3-time Olympian Dathan Ritzenhein. This guy has been competing forever. He's basically been to the 2004, 2008, and 2012 Olympic Games, both for the 10K, twice for the 10K and once for the marathon. He's a 2:07 marathoner. That's the third fastest marathon or fourth fastest by an American male. He was the one-time American record holder for the 5,000 in like 12:50 or 47 or something insanely fast. And he's going to be out here. So we are going to do an event together on Saturday. It's going to be partnered with Generation UCAN and sponsored by the San Francisco Marathon. And we are also going to live stream that sucker on Saturday morning. So it's going to happen between 10 and 11 Pacific Coast time. So mark your calendars, check it out. I'm going to throw the link to the actual event in the stream because you guys may want to sign up for this if you're in the area. You're going to get some free UCAN stuff, which will be pretty sweet as well. Let me pull this guy up here. Let's pull up our little YouTube feed here and making sure we're all good to go. And I want to, just give you guys that, opportunity to hang out and answer questions from Dathan. The interesting thing about Dathan is that, man, he has had some pretty incredible experiences, but he's also had some really bad experiences. Guys, this is like the most long, thing ever, but go ahead and click that link. You can go ahead and jump in and see it. So, fun thing on Saturday morning, it's happening 10 to 11, panel discussion with Dathan and myself. I've got a bunch of questions I want to ask him afterwards. We're going to film a bunch of videos together, so you're going to see Dathan pop up on our channel over the next month or so. But if you can come in and check it out after your run or whatever, we would love to have you. Here we go. So let's get into your questions. Enough about me. Let's talk about you guys. We're going to go kind of up to the top of the list. And Kimberly asks early on, what are your thoughts on keto as a runner? So I'm actually reading Alex Hutchinson's Endure right now, which is this really interesting book on just all different aspects of endurance, not only for running, but just as a human being, kind of telling interesting stories about how we've, kind of gone beyond the fringes of our understanding of different things scientifically from a hydration standpoint, from an oxygen standpoint, looking at free divers going down, hundreds and hundreds of feet down underneath the water, to people like, living and traveling like in the Antarctic or to the polar ice cap and back, like all this kind of crazy stuff. And, one of the things that was interesting in the chapter around food and nutrition and what happens is this idea that, should we be primarily a fat burning athlete or should we be primarily a carbohydrate burning athlete? And lately there's been a huge uptick in this idea that we should be more efficient fat burners because we've got a lot greater fat stores. This can help us be way more efficient at the marathon and the ultra and potentially even the shorter events, healthier as well. And you know, one of the conclusions they arrived at in the chapter was this idea of metabolic flexibility. We should be able to do both really well. When we need to, when we're doing longer, slower stuff, we should be able to tap into those fat stores at a greater rate. And that's gonna come with, you know, basically eating like we are what we eat, you know, so eating that higher fat, lower carbohydrate diet at times and getting really efficient there, doing early morning fasted runs if you can, and getting good there. But then there are times when we need to turn and burn and pick things up fast. We're gonna go for those easier to use energy, which has that higher energy output. So we want both. Right, we really, really want both. If I'm only on one side and I'm not on the other, that's no good, right? So I need to spend some time on the keto side potentially to be good. The interesting thing about people who are only keto all the time was that even at higher intensities, they were able to burn higher levels of fat, but it took more oxygen to do so. So there was a metabolic cost by being more metabolically efficient when I'm trying to run at those higher speeds. So ultra running, slower runs, no problem. But if you're bike racing, marathon, half marathon, where you're trying to access that top end, there's a cost there. So we want to make sure we've got a little bit in there. Let's go to these other questions. And of course, oh my goodness, we're 13 minutes in and I haven't even talked about our giveaway. You guys were lucky. We're getting some help cleaning out the TRE office, and we found a bunch more of these cool t-shirts that we did last year. These are limited edition, never going to be designed or printed again, created by Run Territory, is this Bitch and Run brand. I have put this t-shirt through the wash a million times. I love working out and running in it. I love just wearing it around. It fits great, really nice cotton. Design hasn't worn away at all. Really an awesome t-shirt. And we're gonna give away 2 of them to you guys today, in addition to this magical thing called a TRE lacrosse ball. You can do a lot of incredible things with this. So to enter in to get your t-shirt and TRE lacrosse ball sent to you, hit that Gleam link in the description. It's gonna be down a little bit, so just make sure you scroll down a little bit and see it. There are different ways to enter in there, check some things out. Definitely worthwhile. We'll do the drawing next week when Craig is back for those 2 orders. And of course, for last week's Gore-Tex stuff, we're going to be doing that giveaway as well. How fun is that? Renee says those shirts are great. We agree. Running Geek says I can vouch those shirts are hella comfy. I know, because she won the last one. Super, super fun. Rich just says, hey Nate, just drank some of my electro powder from UCAN that you sent me all the way up here in Ottawa. Awesome. Can you talk about intermittent fasting? I'll jump to Rich's question because, you know, we're kind of talking along diet. And hey guys, keep in mind, I am not a nutritionist. I've always joked that if I were to be writing nutrition programs for TRE, you'd be drinking too much coffee in the morning and probably too much bourbon at night. Who knows, maybe that's a good, you know, long-term secret way of living that we've yet to discover. But for the intermittent fasting, here's basically what it is. There's different definitions in terms of how it's sort of set up, but the most kind of strict definition is that you're only eating within an 8-hour period throughout the 24-hour cycle of the day, right? And so you could think about eating only between noon and 8. And for a lot of you, that might only mean like your kind of window of 2 meals. Like you've got your, you know, lunch and your dinner, and then the last meal's at 8 o'clock, and then you don't eat again until noon the next day. And I think there's supposed to be a lot of positive benefits to that. This is actually Craig's locale where he does every Monday he fasts completely. I do a partial intermittent fast where a lot of times my wife and I will eat at like 7, and then I won't eat again until probably 9 a.m., 8:30 or 9 a.m. the next morning. So kind of a decently length window, but we're also up at 4, right? So I'm going for the first 4 hours without any food. And I kind of like it. I think that, you know, training in a slightly fasted state kind of pushes your body to be more metabolically efficient, which I really benefit. There are a host of benefits at the hormonal level that I am not qualified to speak about. So if anyone knows, definitely chime in and would love to hear from you. Let's see here. Andy says, I take it the Achilles is better now, so what is next for you personally, training and racing? I know, Andy, we didn't get to talk about that too much. It's getting better. I still have some bad days every once in a while. My Achilles, long story short, guys, for those of you guys who do or don't know, I really pushed my limits last fall training for 50K, getting up into mileage that I hadn't done in a long time, training vert elevation per week that I've probably never done before. And I was really happy with how like my 50K went going in, felt super prepared, and it was a great experience. But the caveat is that I was nursing my Achilles at the end. You know, that like last 4 to 6 week window where things are you're just starting to feel banged up, right? And you still kind of have to keep that training high. Well, I was in that world for sure. And I've kind of had this hangover Achilles injury where it wasn't preventing me from running, but it was just kind of irritated and around all the time. And I finally decided, you know, earlier this year to be like, I gotta nip this thing in the bud. And so I've been spending a lot more time paying attention to strengthening my feet. I noticed my big toe was really stiff. I had very little like big toe flexibility. And basically, imagine this is my foot, right? There's basically this tendon that attaches underneath your big toe, goes all the way underneath the arch of your foot around the Achilles, and it inserts midway up the calf. So this guy was super, super tight, and I needed to unlock that a little bit. And yeah, running's been coming back. This week, I'm actually doing a cool experiment where normally I've been running like 3 to 4 days a week the last couple months. This week I'm running 5 days, and what I'm actually adding in for the 2 additional days is it's not a lot of running, but it is some time on the feet in between my strength sessions. So I'm hitting like 2 exercises. So for example, this morning I did a set of what was it? Split squats with a rear foot elevated, renegade row push-ups, and then 60 seconds on the treadmill at just a good, decent clip, just so I could kind of run efficiently for that could feel good. And I did that 4 or 5 times, and then I did another set where I did some pull-ups, some single leg box jumps, and 90 seconds on the treadmill. So the idea was just kind of get some running intervals in there, and I really want that frequency of 5 run days a week, because I really think that's gonna help me out. What do you do about nighttime eating syndrome? Michael, I'm not sure what that is, if that's someone who gets really hungry at night. You know, what's interesting, guys, about that...
Go to bed earlier.
Craig in the background says go to bed earlier if that's an issue. Drink a bunch of fizzy water, drink some tea. Sometimes having like something warm in your stomach can help. And guys, understand that your feeling of hunger is not you starving or your body anywhere near to that. It is a hormonal trigger and response that literally will go away. So sometimes recognize that when you get that feeling of, oh, I'm hungry, it's not to say that you're starving. It's like maybe it's your blood sugar dipping a little bit, but it's a response that will go away. So you can kind of ride through it. And just for me, knowing that is helpful. Running Geek Girl says, hi, background Craig.
Calling my lift.
Still in the background. He's calling his lift to go out.
Hi guys.
Any parting words?
I am jealous. I'm like upset. Like I want to be on the show.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, saddle up, partner.
Running Geek Girl, how's it going? Thank you for bringing me onto the show. I unfortunately booked a flight. I thought it was at 2:30, and then I was gonna get to do the show, but it was at 1:30. So
we understand his priorities where they are.
You know, people get married.
I feel very strange standing to the left of you on the show.
I'm
always on the other side. It's so weird.
It's a backwards thing.
I know.
You know, I've been hearing all your comments, and in my head I'm like, what would I say to that? What would I say to that? And you know what? It's good that Nate he actually does a better job. It's better when I'm not here like
Dude, the dieting and fasting is like your
That's true,
neck of the woods. Like you.
I've had, you know, the 36-hour fast that I've been doing on Mondays is as long as I eat well on Saturday and Sunday, like I'm not like skipping a meal or something like that. Totally doable, way more doable than I would have ever thought. And it gives
and you'll still train on Monday.
Yeah, I just do everything per normal.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually think like if my diet is restricting how I move through the world, then I need to adjust something as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
You know?
I hear you.
So, yeah.
Well, Mehmet says, enjoy the wedding, drink some delicious water on me.
Delicious water. Have you heard of this concept of raw water?
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. It's really bad. People are basically saying, like, yeah, there's like a...
Puddles off rocks?
Basically. Like,
okay.
Straight out of a river, like,
yeah.
no fluoride, no chlorination, nothing like that. And, of course, it has, like, feces in it and stuff like that. And you might get giardia.
Yeah,
but
squirrel pee. Squirrel pee is real.
It's horrible. So I won't be doing that.
Maybe if you're like the top of Yosemite, like where the water source starts, and it's just like trickling out, and a bird hasn't had a chance to poop in it yet.
You know, once I went scuba diving in Iceland in the continental divide. This is a side story. Yeah. But the water had been, it had been frozen for 40,000 years, and it was the first in that crevasse where we were.
Oh, amazing.
It was the first time it was in liquid form and exposed to the world. It was amazing. You could just
drink it.
Yeah.
No problem. So go to the Continental Divide, rawwater.com.
All right, dude. Hey.
Ivan, hey. Catch you later.
Guys.
We'll hold down the fort.
I'll see you soon.
These guys are going to keep me in check as we sort of go here. So we'll go through some more rapid fire questions. Here, I had a question earlier about something about high hamstring syndrome. Let me see if I can find it. All right, Ted Toke says, any advice for recovery from high hamstring tendonitis? 4 weeks of rest so far. So a lot of times when guys, this is the way that I think about the body as a system, a mechanical system of levers and pulleys. And when everything is aligned and loaded properly and doing its job, you have this amazing orchestrated symphony of movement where everything is doing its thing perfectly. That doesn't mean you won't be sore after a 10-mile run, but you know, the system's great. A lot of times the system is not great because we hit a pothole, so to speak, we're out of alignment in some way. One muscle is not firing, and basically what that means is that one part of the system is now all of a sudden overloaded. It's doing more work because one part of the system has been shut down. And when we see high hamstring stuff, this is particularly true because the butt, the hips, the glutes, they're not firing. So all of a sudden, this system down here that's supposed to really go together all the way, the hamstrings are holding on for dear life. And you can stretch your hamstrings to your blue in the face, but until you address this systemic alignment thing and get those glutes involved and activated, you're really going to be hurting. So we need to do some things to wake up the glutes and get our brain talking to them a little bit more. And literally that can start with some bridges or some single leg bridges, things like that. And then I want to progress to more bigger picture movements, squatting, lunging, other things like that. But guys, here's the rub. I can do all those movements, but not really recruit my glutes in any way. So I really need to think about it, and I need to load and sequence properly. Finally, the last thing, once I've got that in, is that I need to pull this back into my running. I need to really think about posture and hip positions. One of my favorite things is that arch body position, the Superman rock. A month or two, I think it's about 2 months ago, I put out a video about like running with your hips and how by pushing your hips forward gets those glutes involved. So my hamstrings and glutes fire together. My hip flexors start acting like these like elastic rubber bands as they should. And now the system is back aligned and working. So some arch body rocks is super good. And you can stop in the middle of the runs and add these in to kind of kickstart the system again. So it's a little touch and go. It's an easy change to make easy. In the respect, you just have to think about squeezing your ass, but it's a hard change to make because it's baked into your daily movement patterns, which are the easiest and also the hardest things to change. So that's how I would tackle that. Now I'm really alone, guys. Let's see here. Hi, let me see. Heber Flores says, hello, greetings from Mexico. Got a question about cross training. Would you recommend I do some exercises on training day or just on off days? So I recommend all runners should be doing some, I'm not gonna just say cross training, I'm gonna say strength training 2 days a week. Because cross training can house other types of aerobic activity as well, right? I could get on a bike and ride, that would be a form of cross training, or I could get in the pool and swim. And the benefit of that would be I'm trying to become more of an aerobic beast and monster, but I'm limited in my ability to add more weekly miles. So adding those sessions in would give you a combined aerobic benefit that will help you as a runner. And just that different movement pattern balances things out. But those things don't address your strength imbalances, they don't address your mobility issues, and they don't address all the nook and cranny muscles that need to fire. So when we think about cross training, we need to be very clear in our brains about the difference between strength training and the elliptigo and riding my bike. Both have value, but they're not the same thing. So what I would recommend is at least 2 full body weight sessions a week. And in terms of additional stimulus, if you're dealing with an injury, working through an Achilles, I've been jumping on my bike a little bit more. I can start to add some of those sessions in. Sometimes, let's say one of you guys are dealing really with an injury, one of the things that you can do is basically supplement some of your run workouts with cross-training stuff. Deep water running. I just talked to someone at the Boston Marathon where I made this cool video. She's going to be in it. It's going to come out tomorrow, which I'm very excited. She talked about how she qualified for the Boston Marathon while working through an injury. And she spent the majority of her preparation doing deep water running workouts. Not the most exciting thing, but super effective. She didn't get much road miles, but she was super strong when she got to the road and ended up running her qualifying time, which is super cool. Let's see here. Rich, did I miss the answer on Piriformis? You did not, Rich. Let me go back to your question and see if I can find it on running with the Piriformis syndrome. Let's see here. It's further up. Can I run with Piriformis syndrome? It's sore, but I can roll out and run my race. So, guys, injuries are not binary. It's not I'm injured or I'm not. There's this very progressive wave of things that we get into where it's perfectly fine to you are effed and you're limping around and you can't move at all. We live in the gray world the majority of the time, and sometimes I've kind of coined the term pre-injury. Sometimes if you feel something that's a little painful but you can still run through it, it's not an injury, but you're in those pre-initial stages where if you were to kind of continue, it would necessarily get worse. So with the Piriformis syndrome stuff, a lot of times what's happening is this Piriformis muscle, which, to be all honest, we don't know if it's just that. So unless you got diagnosed by someone, you could just have tight glutes, tight hips in some respects, and other muscles could be involved as well. And sometimes it can pinch on our sciatic nerve a little bit, and we get a little nerve pain in there as well. So we need to loosen those hips up. And we need to avoid the things that bother it. Usually with that stuff, faster running can bother it, so we want to be careful there. And you want to, fight the good balance. If you're someone who's like 3 to 4 weeks out of a race, maybe you are holding yourself together like I was for the North Face race, and you're gonna really deal with it later. So it's like I don't want it to get worse, but it's not necessarily gonna get any better. But if you're someone whose race is a lot further away and you've got this whole spring and summer of fun planned, especially if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, well then it's a good chance to really double down on this And like I'm doing with my Achilles right now, I haven't signed up for any races yet because I really want to deal with my Achilles before I put this artificial and arbitrary race stressor on myself to go in. So again, we got to be strength training. We got to think about alignment. How you standing? Are you that person that kind of stands on the side on their hip all the time, or are you a little bit more aligned? I need to think about all of those pieces together being super, super important. I need to think about strength training, you know, squats, lunges, step-ups, single leg squats, bridges, side planks with a lateral leg raise. Pretty much all the stuff that we put into our strength training programs in the training club would be really good for you to do on a regular basis to build that up, as well as the mobility and injury prevention. A lot of rolling out your glutes. If you enter today's giveaway, speaking of, you could get a TRE lacrosse ball, and we'll show you exactly how to use this to open up your glutes and your hips, especially in that Piriformis. This is like a surgical tool that you can dent in there with precision. So remember, get a t-shirt, get a lacrosse ball. These are exclusive t-shirts. We're not making any more of them. Really awesome fit and feel, designed by Run Territory. They make great stuff. We did a partnership with them last year, and we got a few more t-shirts left. All you need to do to enter is hit that Gleam link in the description, and one of these could be yours, and the lacrosse ball could be yours too. How good is that? So that's what I would do the Piriformis. I would think about running, but I would keep it in like the 1 to 2, maybe 3 pain threshold. If you're creeping above that, then we need to really modify and moderate. You'd be better off doing some cross training, doing some strength training, and really doubling down on your mobility. Here we good. Good. Rich says all good in the hood here, Nate. Right on. Man, I'm just gonna take a little moment. I feel like I've been talking for a while. 12:34, almost halfway through. If you're just joining us to the Run Experience, this is our YouTube channel. Hello. We do all types of fun things on strength and injury prevention, nutrition, fun workouts. We like to do some interviews, tell some fun stories. Speaking of interviews and stories, how many of you guys listened to the interview we posted with Logan Gilbert on Monday? I would love to see that. He's actually not a runner, but he is an incredible performer and an athlete, and a lot of the practices that he has put into place that have got him into Major League Baseball, playing for the Padres, can really apply to any sport, any athletic situation. He is a guy I've known for years. We love to philosophize on things and chat, and he's such a creative, interesting, purposeful dude. So the audio in the beginning is a little shitty. I was flying solo that day, and I had a hard time checking when I was going, but it does get better. But if you guys listen to the call, I would love to see that. That'd be super fun. Here we go. Let's see what you guys are chatting in about. And if, as I said, if anyone has done that, that would be super cool. More questions coming in. Let's see here. And if you guys like these videos, if you like this live stream they put in 30 hours, throwing that little thumbs up down below really helps us a lot. It just kind of gives us a little boost, both spiritually and emotionally, and it helps this video reach a wider audience, which is really our goal. We want to connect with more runners. So if you like what we're doing, hit that thumbs up down below. That makes a big difference. Lizzie says she hasn't listened yet. No big deal, but it's a good one. Jeff says, how do you choose the best type of foam roller? I like different rollers do different jobs. You know, for example, this guy is a Supernova by Mobility Wad, kind of a hard ball. This is great for getting into different areas of your body in a more compact way. It feels a little bit like I can get a little bit deeper into my different areas of my body than just say a traditional foam roller. So I like this thing for gut smashing, for rolling out my glutes, getting into my quads and hips a little bit. But like if I'm rolling out my feet or let's say my calves, I like something thinner that I'm not going to roll and slide off of. So I like the rollers that, you know, look more like a rolling pin where I can get in there. I like things that aren't too soft. The old school white foam rollers, like we can do better than that. Trigger Point makes great products, but now there's so many different foam rollers out there that you can really choose. Test them out. Some have different grooves and designs. A lot of time the ridges just allow you to get into some deeper pressure points, which is great. I think it's a real beneficial thing. But what I personally like to use is just a few things in my arsenal. If I'm traveling, I might travel with this or lacrosse ball because it's super easy and compact. I can do stuff in the hotel room, especially if I've been doing some events where I'm on my feet all day. My feet get pretty stiff, so rolling my feet out with lacrosse ball is perfect. But then, you know, back at my house, I might lean out on a big big foam roller because I can open up my thoracic spine better that way, my upper back. Rich says it should have been deep thoughts with Logan. Definitely, right? Definitely, we definitely get some deep in there. A few of you guys chime in there. Lizzie says Trigger Point foam roller for quads, backs, and lats. Yeah, that's another one. It's hard sometimes when we're getting on these lats right here. Sometimes like a softer thing is good. And you guys, it's tinkering. There's no right or wrong way to do this. At the Run Experience, what we're really looking to do is give you guys opportunity to tinker with all this stuff, because there's no magic exercise that I've found, but there is something magical that happens when you guys commit to this process of strength, mobility, thoughtful run form, and improvement. Even as little as 5 minutes a day, you will get better. It's insane, right? That's really what this is all about. Forest Trail Runner says, last night on the FOD Runners Chat, you talked about CrossFit, but you don't on your own channel. Why is that? Good question. You know, because I'm a CrossFit coach. I've been involved in the CrossFit community for years, and I purposely don't talk about it too much on this channel, not because I'm ashamed of it in any way, but I find it to be kind of a distraction from the message that we're trying to get out there. Because when I say CrossFit versus when I say strength for runners, we all have a notion of what CrossFit is in our heads that doesn't always, you know, gel up with everything else that we're trying to do. We get notions of we're being pushed to heavier loads than we want to do. Maybe someone's yelling at us. We're scared. There's really loud music. Like all these things that kind of put us out of our element. Not to say that those things are untrue, but what I like to say and how I answered this question yesterday was like, look, like, let's not talk about CrossFit, but let's have a conversation on squatting. And it's not CrossFit, but maybe we should work some lunges in there. And not CrossFit, but maybe some pull-ups are also a good idea too. And no, we're not doing CrossFit at all, but hey, let's finish off with some burpees, right? It's like, you can call it whatever you want, but these movements, these kind of full body, big picture movements that give us as an opportunity to athletically sharpen our skill set and make us better from strength, range of motion, stability, coordination standpoint, that all translate to better running, all can be found in the CrossFit world. So if we get obsessed with a label, sometimes it makes us, you know, repel and stay away. And so for me, it's like, I don't want to have that conversation. I just want to have the good strength and mechanics conversation. But if you come see me in the Bay Area and you want to train, I train at a San Francisco CrossFit, so you can come and hang out right there. Good. Other people chiming in here. Andrew says, Logan was very thought-provoking, high-level stuff. For sure. He's such a good dude that way. Lizzie says she's foam rolling her quads and IT band right now. Dude, multi-process. I love it. I totally love it. Let's see here. Let's get into some more of your questions as we're going. And as I said, if you guys are just listening, we do these live shows every Thursday. They're super fun. How many of you guys are new, have never listened to a show before, or haven't subscribed yet to our channel? We would love to give you a little shout out down below. That would be super fun. Ooh, Jasmine says, what's a good 10K running strategy? Start out fast, finish faster. You know, I don't know. I think the 10K and the 5K are interesting races because a lot of times we think of them as speed events, but it's not really truly a speed event. Like your 5K pace over 400 meters is really not that hard or that fast relative to what you're capable of doing. So it becomes more of a stamina thing, your ability to sustain a submaximal speed for a sustained period of time. A good strategy for the 10K is that when I go in, I kind of know myself athletically. I've practiced paces and efforts that I want to run at, and I have drilled that into my body with some good preparation. And then on race day, I'm pushing, but it's also a game of patience, right? Sometimes you could think of a 10K as a broken 5K, where the first 5K, I'm keeping things from an effort level a little bit more restrained, and I feel like I could do more, but I'm pulled back just a little bit. So that second 5K, that's when I release those reserves and really push. Because if you've kind of blown up your 5K or 10K, the 5K can feel, for example, like a really long race if you went out a little hard in the first third of it, like I have done on numerous occasions in high school. Let's see here. Other questions. The Dr. B says, hi, new greetings from Sardinia, Italy. Hey, I'm super excited. My wife and I are going to be going to Italy in about a month. We're going to be doing a little bike trip from Florence to Rome. We're super stoked. So definitely not Sardinia, but something that will be really cool. Let's see here. Vivek says, which shoes are best for long running? Man, there's so many good shoes these days. Finding a shoe company that you like, and the best way to do that is go into a local running store and try on a few different pairs. You know, talk to the reps, tell them what you're doing. All brands have different level shoes, from your everyday trainer to a shoe that's more distance specific, distance running, that might have a little bit more cushioning and support and stack height, which is basically how much rubber is underneath the shoe. And then they have shoes that are a little lighter and more nimble, that would be for tempo and speed work, as well as all-out racing flats. So if you're looking for a longer running shoe, you know, by and large, we're probably looking for something with a little bit more cushioning and protection. And you could carry that pretty far to an extreme, like a Hoka. A lot of companies now are doing like more maximalist style shoes, which can feel really good. What I personally like is that in the week, I'm exposing my foot to different types of shoes from a different stimulus standpoint. So I might be running in a more maximalist shoe one day, but that means I'm in a tempo style trainer shoe another day. And maybe another day, especially as getting into the summer, I'm kicking my shoes off and I'm running a few barefoot strides in the grass, because that always feels good. Let's see here. Shayna says, I'm running my first half marathon on August 20th. My longest run this far is a 10K. I'm doing another to prepare another weekend 5-6, and I'm wondering if I'd be ill-advised doing another half a week later. So back-to-back half marathons. Here's my answer to these types of questions, guys. We're all here running to play and to enjoy ourselves, and a lot of us get huge benefit from doing these events. They're super fun. From a training standpoint, you can do it. You can go back-to-back half marathons. All you need to do is race on that Saturday or Sunday, do a really good job of recovering in that week. Maybe when you get to Thursday or Friday, you're just going to do some short shakeout runs, and then you're going to go ahead and run again. It can work okay from the competitive side, but know a few things. One, the harder you push yourself in that first half, the longer it's going to take to recover. So if you treated the first half more of a sustained effort, but not a maximal all-out effort, you'll be able to pair these up okay. The other thing to think about is that if you're a newer runner and you're doing your first half marathon, that first run might knock you out a little bit. Like, you're going to have to really push yourself just to finish the darn thing. And then when we talk about this second race the weekend later, we're talking about how much we want to risk. Now, risk sometimes we see negatively. I kind of see it positively, because risk High risk usually means a high reward situation. If we wanted to avoid any, high risk situation at all, we would never train for marathon or half or 10K. We would just run, a couple miles a few times a week, if that, and call it a day. But we're chasing those rewards, and what we have to do is just mitigate those risks on the strength standpoint and the injury prevention standpoint. And if I can do that, I'll be usually pretty good. That's how I would kind of attack that, Shayna. Hopefully that is helpful. There we go. We got 32 people liking this video. That's always appreciated. Let's see here. More questions from the crew. I'm going to take a little sip of coffee. And it is about 10 minutes until we do our giveaway last week of this pretty bitchin' Gore-Tex hat and socks. Remember, this week's giveaway is this t-shirt, this limited edition t-shirt that you can get, as well as a very magical TRE lacrosse ball just for you. We're picking 2 winners. The drawing is going to be next week, so even if you're watching the recording of this, you'll still be able to enter by hitting that Gleam link below. Jump in there. You don't want to miss out on that opportunity to get those very cool things. Susie says, I signed up for my first 50K, buoyed by my success with TRE programs. Susie's TRE member, what's up? I'm wondering about training for distance versus time. It could take me 8 to 10 hours to finish due to trail elevation gain. No idea. That's a great question, Susie. When do I train time and when do I train distance? As a general rule, I like the further away I am from an event, I like to train more from a time standpoint. I think logistically it's a little bit easier, and it lets our body ebb and flow a little bit more naturally on the days that we're feeling a little more spry and faster, as well as the days we're not feeling that fast and we want to go a little slower and chill a little bit. So I like that a little bit. It also can help account for different circumstances, right? A 5 miles on the pancake flat road, trails on the Presidio and Embarcadero of San Francisco, for example, where I was running yesterday, is very different from 5 miles in the headlands up out there, where it's this or this, right? Totally different 5 mile experiences. And while one 5 mile run might take me 40 minutes or less, the other one might take me 50 minutes or more just because the grind through. So what I might say if I was going to target a 40-minute run on the flat and I go into the hills, it's like, hey, I'm just not going to worry about miles as much. I'm just going to hit that, 40 to 50-minute window, whatever. And whatever I run is whatever I run. Now, when I start training more specifically for an event, let's say I am getting ready for a 50K trail race, it's good to be able to mimic the terrain that you're going to be on. And as you get closer to the race, it's good to know what those distances are and how long it takes to run them as well. That's just good feedback for the race. So as you get closer to your event, you may switch from thinking about just time to be thinking about the length of the runs themselves. So that can be a helpful way to break that down. Let's see, a bunch of new questions coming in. You guys are great. Hey, 40 likes. Oh, you guys are so good. I love you guys. So Shivam says, hi Coach Nate, Shivam here from Abu Dhabi. Does training masks help in training for high altitude marathon while doing training at lower ground or sea level area? Thank you. I love this question. Have you guys seen the training masks before? We look like Bane from the Batman movies, and it puts this whole thing here. It's used to basically limit your airways, and it does a few things. It basically makes you work harder to breathe in more limited amounts of air, and they say it kind of helps from the altitude standpoint. Now, when you train at altitude, when there's less oxygen out there, your body has to adapt a few ways. One, to basically get the same amount of oxygen molecules to your working muscles, you have to breathe harder. And so you're gonna see elevated heart rates for the same speeds and effort that you would do, say, at a sea level thing. Now, if you spend enough time at altitude, your body compensates by producing more red blood cells to carry that oxygen so that it starts to even itself out. But what's interesting is that our breathing system, our diaphragm, is a muscle. And like any other muscle, when it starts working harder than it should, it gets tired and it starts to fatigue. So if you're someone who's going up to high altitude to train a race, at the time you're dealing with the lower oxygen carrying capacity of your blood, but your diaphragm is going to get tired too because it's pumping harder than it's used to pumping. The training mask can't solve the first problem. It's not going to produce more blood cells, but what it can do is it can help strengthen that diaphragm a little bit in your breathing mechanics so that when you go up to that higher altitude, you're more adapted to that harder breathing. A lot of our programs in the training club, we promote nose breathing. And as I like to say, we all have a training mask on our face. We don't have to wear those creepy black things. We could just literally close our mouth and just breathe in and out through our nose. And this limited airway passage, snot rockets aside, is actually a great way to get us all breathing deeper into our belly. And then if you start pushing the top end, you start running at higher intensity levels, just in and out through your nose, you will strengthen your diaphragm as well and give you some readiness and some exposure to better performance all around, and then also for some of the high altitude stuff. So I think that's really good. Let's see here, guys. We got 5 more minutes until we do our giveaway. Super exciting stuff. Let's look through more of these questions you come through. Let's see if I can pull from someone who I haven't answered yet. C. Willis says, I've just started running. I noticed when I first start out, I run out of breath very quickly. My pace is 8:25. Do I start off too fast? You might, I can't say 8:25 is too fast or too slow for anyone. It's all relative to you. But if you're someone who, for example, immediately jumps in and just stays 8:25 the whole time, or maybe just a little bit faster, you might be jumping in a little bit too quick. Start with some deeper breathing. Purposely maybe run the first mile at like a 9 or 9:30. Like, go easy, ease into things, and then you can get the whole breathing ventilation thing warmed up and ease in from there. I think a lot of us have a habit of just jumping out, it's cold, I just want to go. But if you can kind of let yourself ease in and stop, and of course do your dynamic warm up, open up your hips and shoulders. Slow jogging is not the best warm up for slightly faster jogging. We need something in between to really get us ready. That's a good way to go. Let me see here. Okay, Karen says, I really hope the running experience answers my questions about ice heat compresses. I have a foot issue. Karen, let me scroll up. The challenging today is there's only one of me. There's a lot of you guys, and these questions are coming at me fast. So let's see this one. I think I found it. Nate, when do we ice an injury or apply heat? How about alternating between both? Do we just try them out and see, or are there some guidelines? There are some guidelines. So again, I'm not a physical therapist, but a lot of the PTs I work with, when they review the science and literature around icing, they realize that we're kind of wrong about what it does, and that for a lot of injuries, we shouldn't be icing them, actually. We should be elevating, we should be compressing, but we shouldn't necessarily be icing, and there's a few particular reasons why. First of all, when your body has some sort of traumatic event and there's a swelling effect in a certain area, that's your body's natural inflammatory response. Inflammation in that respect is a good thing because it helps promote and facilitate healing in the area. If I ice something that's inflamed, it's going to numb the pain and feel good for a short period of time, which we get some release from. But it basically puts the whole inflammatory response on pause, which basically means it puts the whole healing response on pause. Do you guys see what's happening there? So basically by just throwing ice on something that hurts, It doesn't actually fix it, and it slows my body's own ability to fix the area. Now, I'm not saying that ice baths and cold baths and systemically cooling the body down are different or bad, because those provide a benefit. What I'm talking about is just turning my elbow or my knee or my Achilles into a frozen steak. That's what we kind of want to avoid. What we want to get in there instead is some gentle movement. We want to get some compression in there. So for example, let me get my bag. I carry a CTM band with me, as well as a Voodoo floss band with me in my backpack, basically wherever I go. And a year or two ago, I was doing the Spartan World Championships up in Tahoe, 15-mile race with almost 5,000 feet of climbing at elevation with all these obstacles I had to get through. I was jumping off this little monkey bar ladder. I had to land awkwardly on like the edge of this muddy pit, and underwater my right ankle twisted and fell over like a rock or something, and I kind of limp a little bit, but I had to run another 6 miles on a lightly sprained ankle. By the end of the race, my ankle started to swell like crazy, and at night it was really painful. But what I did, actually under the guidance of my physical therapist, Kelly Starrett, who happened to be there, he had me just continually wrap and elevate my foot, a whole bunch of things with this. And what it did was it just kind of acted like this giant lymphatic pump, where it would kind of clear some of that, what's the word that I'm thinking about? Swelling down and come back up, clear down, swell it up, come back up. But what was amazing was that even after like 2 days, I was able to, walk again and move around, and it wasn't that bad. So this really accelerated previous experiences. If I had to have a twisted or sprained ankle, I'd be icing, I wouldn't be adding any movement, and I'd just be like a stiff, miserable person for 2 months. So we don't want to do that. Heat can be helpful. Movement, mobility is key. And the other thing I did, guys, when my Achilles or my ankle was really stiff and beat up, I didn't just poke an angry hornet, because that's just going to be mad. But what I could work on was, hey, let me work on my calves up here, my shins up here, because loosening this is just going to promote blood flow and movement all the way through here. So that is the take on this. If you guys want to look into more, literally just Google, icing and injuries. Is it wrong? There's a lot of, thoughtful people out there that are looking at this also from the scientific perspective. So if you guys want to dig in, there's more on there, but it's interesting stuff. The guy who invented rice basically now says that the ice part is wrong. It's kind of crazy. Let's see here. What else you guys got? Oh my God, it's 12:59. Guys, you know what that means? We got to do the drawing for our Gore-Tex stuff. So let me pull this up here, see where we are at, and I can do our drawing for our stuff. Super stoked about this. We did it in honor of Boston being so damn cold. Nothing like having the perfect gear 2 weeks after you really need it, right? Let's see here, the gear, Gore rainproof socks, promoting our winner here and hat, drawing our winner. Let's see who it is. All right, we have, it looks like Mike Adam from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Congratulations. It's probably still cold up in Eden Prairie, so this Gore-Tex hat and these socks will benefit you. Virtual high five, nice work. Again, for all of you guys doing our giveaway, TRE t-shirt and lacrosse ball, enter now. Again, if you're watching the recording of this later, you can still enter before Thursday next week. We'll do the live drawing of these limited edition t-shirts. We're super stoked on it. It is 1 o'clock. Always a pleasure. I know I didn't get to answer all the questions, but that is super hard. For those of you guys who are really looking to train, remember, we don't just like to, stand around in random rooms and speak into cameras. We like to coach you guys too. And we have some pretty incredible programs, as some of you guys can attest because you're in them. in the training club. Everything from first-time runner, training for a 5K, to half and full marathon, and all the good stuff that you like from us, from our video-based approach towards injury prevention and strength and run form and run workouts. It's all in there. So it removes the guesswork. You know exactly what to do. You get directly tied in with us and our team of coaches to answer questions. You get a cool community, all that good stuff. Anyway, there's a link down in the training club. We'd love to see you in there as well. It is 1:02. I'm going to sign out, get Nora a little bit of outside time. I got to do the outro. Here we go, hitting this guy. I'll see you guys